Jake Ward, Aussie Armwrestler, welcome to my little podcast, man. Thank you very much for coming.
It's not a little podcast, mate. It's not a little podcast. Anyone that does arm wrestling podcast, I think is great. Anyone that can help spread the word of our sport. No, I don't think it's a little podcast at all, my man.
Thank you very much, man. I am humbled by your kind words, then, but the honor obviously is mine, and especially, well, I didn't intend to wear this t-shirt today, but I just realized and remember because when you were in the event and I saw in the press conference that in the microphone were the stickers with the Spanish flag, it's like,
Yeah.
oh. I remember posting the video, going on YouTube, playing the Spanish anthem and laughing. Like, I didn't know. I didn't know you were a Spanish supporter, my friend, but
Well, I'm Spanish through and through, of course.
of course. I mean, okay, this is the first question. I mean, because I know you've been running quite much in Australia, but I don't think you have been running all the way to Spain, didn't you?
No, no. My running days are over. I have a titanium hip in my right hip, and my left hip needs replacing. So yeah, no more running. But would love to get over to Spain. Was spewing I never visited when I used to live in England.
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, for anyone who's watching this, guys, I tell you, obviously, I did my homework before bringing this honorable gentleman to the podcast. And obviously, okay, let's say this very clear, Jake. I mean, I was very curious about you when I started to watch and to do this sport back in 2020 because I saw you in more events and things going on and so on. And I was wondering about you because it's a curious story. And then as soon as I started to dive in, I started to discover things I didn't expect about you. That obviously I started to like a lot because, I mean, yes.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
That was a good one. But anyway, guys, one of the things you should know about Jake is like Jake is not just a funny guy, it's not just a voice, it's not just a commentator, he's far more than that. I'm gonna say this, guys. I've been having a look even in his LinkedIn, and one of the things that really caught my attention of the kind of person that you are is that you've been working for around 12 years for working for, I think I have it right in here, mate. Specific. I mean, obviously, if I have something wrong, please correct me, okay?
Yeah.
But yeah, motivational speaker, personal trainer that you are, and also you've been for 12 years or so disability support worker.
Yes, correct. So I worked 12 years looking after people with an intellectual disability. I grew up with that. My mum was in the field, so I had a bit of a head start. So people with intellectual disability weren't different to us. We spent a lot of time. Well, they're not different anyway, but some people can be scared when they first meet someone, especially as a young child. So I always thought it was cool what my mum did. And then I think about 2006, around 2005, 2006, I thought, well, I'll give it a go. And yeah, spent 11, 12 years in the field. And at the moment, I'm also thinking of doing, because I've been away for it for about 6 years now, and I miss it a little bit. So I might do one day a week and go back to it because I just enjoy helping people wherever I can.
Obviously, Jake, yeah. I mean, I tell you this, right? I work I work in the care sector as well. I mean,
cool.
I work in private companies as living care, support worker. I've done all of that. I work in NHS now as well, more in the admin side than in the wards and so on. So obviously, finding that information about you, and then obviously the rest of the information I was able to pull from you, let's just say, especially in regards of the podcast that you recorded with your friend from Manchester,
Yep.
which name is I wrote it down because obviously I was going to forget. Leading Our Own Way. Man, obviously.
Yeah, my man Andy.
with your man Andy 2 months or 3 months recorded ago. Guys, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to run through the same questions and all the information that is on that podcast. If you have time, I totally recommend you to watch that podcast about Jake. I mean, the stories, everything that is going through, guys, is absolutely amazing. And I really didn't expect to hear some of the things that I hear that, and I say, okay, I definitely like this guy. I mean,
Thank you.
no. I mean, seriously, because I work in the field as well, and it's like you're doing that kind of job really shows me the kind of person that you are, especially all the things you've been going through. So obviously, for a matter of respect, there are certain topics, because this is really the first time we're talking to each other. I'm not going to dive in because that's not the point. I want to make you feel comfortable. But obviously, and this is the interesting stuff, ladies and gentlemen. It's not only a commentator or a funny guy, as I said earlier on. He has a very, very good amount of runs on his back. I mean, you run from Melbourne to Sydney, it's like 600 miles, 950 kilometers.
Yeah, the first run was 1,000 kilometers. Yeah, Sydney to Melbourne, because I live in Melbourne, so I was always going to run home. So that was 1,000 kilometers over 16 days.
Mm.
65 kilometers a day, so 40 miles or whatever it is. I don't know the conversion. So I'm a kilometers, I'm a metric systems guy. So 65 kilometers a day for 16 days, and the last day was like 25 kilometers. And man, that was painful. It was great. It was great. I was very happy with that one, what I was able to achieve. But yeah, it was an experience.
And then 1,500 kilometers.
Yeah, a few years later. So then, if you go further up the map of Australia on the east coast, a town called the Gold Coast. Yeah, started at the beach and thought, oh, I've got one more run in me. And that was 50 kilometers a day for 30 days straight. And I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, but the coldest day was 31 degrees Celsius. So I was just running in heat, hot road, heat, and just bearing down on me. And it was great. It was an awesome experience. I'm very proud of it. I mean, so when people think, oh, geez, Aussie Armwrestlers are a little bit bigger than what I thought it'd be, it's like, yeah, because I can't exercise as much as I'd like, and I refuse to diet. So I always say I'm like a 85 kilo guy in a 100 kilo body, because I just, I can't just get up and go for a run anymore. It hurts to walk every day. I wake up in pain every day, just like most people. I don't sleep properly from it, but I wouldn't change a thing for the world. I'm so proud of achieving that.
I mean, and I complain when I have to run 30 minutes, my friend. I mean, for keeping up the cardio. Like, all right, man, shut up and just do it.
It was huge. It was just, it was just all about mindset for me. Anything I've done, whether it's the arm wrestling world, whether it was those charity runs you're talking about, it was just all about mindset. So when I was like, right, I'm going to run home, well, I'm going to do it. So, and I get a little bit obsessive, and just was like, right, this is all I'm focusing on. I'm going to raise as much money as I can. I'm going to do it my way. I always do everything my way. So I'll never bow down to the masses in anything that I do, unless it's my wife. She's the boss. So it was really cool. It was really cool, really challenging, and has definitely paved the way of who I am today.
Guys, running 1,000 kilometers and then 1,500 kilometers, raising money for breast cancer, I have to say. Impresionante. Impressive. Absolutely impressive. But obviously, I could ask you about the runnings and so on. There was a particular anecdote that it's like, okay, I have to crack this one on Jake. Like, how did you survive the attack on the emu?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was a very close one. That was a very close one. It was really weird. I was very, very lucky with my mate that drove the car along me. He's a tour guide by trade, very knowledgeable. And I was just there, trotting along. I'm plodding along. It's another long day. It's another hot day. Everything hurts. And I saw an emu kind of like in the distance, and I wasn't sure what was going on. And before I knew, like I hear my mate like turn around real fast, and he's driving back to me, and he's like, "Get in the car." And I was like, "Oh wow, okay," because like you're not thinking, you're tired, and it turned out like the emu was on the run. It was coming. It was coming towards me, ready to go. So like I got a big head start and everything, and we drove off and we made up the kilometers elsewhere, like the running kilometers. But yeah, I was just like, oh wow, holy crap. And like it, for like in my mind, it was forever, but it was probably like 3 seconds. We saw it coming towards the car, and then kind of like, oh, we've scared you away, and then it went back into the wild. But it wasn't until like later on when he was explaining to me, it's like, oh, I was in a lot of trouble without even knowing. I was in a lot of trouble. So shout out to my mate Twiggy. He was awesome in getting me in the car. That's Australian wildlife for you. Australian wildlife. Anything can kill you over here.
One day I have to visit your country, brother, because yeah, that's a stereotype. As well as the stereotype, for example, of my country. Oh, by the way, I live in the UK. We have friends in common. I mean, I know that you've been here for the Valhalla 3 back in March, I believe it was. Yeah, you've been here. Yeah, we have we have people in common.
My dad was born in Ireland. I lived in England for a while. Got lots of family and friends in the UK. So yeah, it's got a little soft spot for me, that.
Yeah, I totally get it, man. I totally get it. Yeah. So, well, I mean, obviously, if you want to ask me something back or anything, mate, I mean, you are my honor guest, so feel free to ask me anything. I mean, anything you want to shoot me back, please just do so.
Yeah.
But, right, as I say, guys, there's many information on that podcast I want to honor. I want you to visit, leading our own. My mind is not as good as it was. Leading our own way. Guys, please just go and watch that podcast because the information that I said is amazing. But now moving forward, my friend, and getting into the arm wrestling world.
Yeah.
Obviously, you made a very, I got it here, brother. You made a very bold statement. And I'm going to read it, man, because it's a very good way. I thought you did it before though, but no, reading your post that you said 4 years ago, I made a bold statement in my first podcast. I will make the biggest station commented alongside the greatest in commenting, pickup. Last night at King of the Table 11 in Dubai, I got to share the commentary booth with him, and I loved it. I actually thought that you already commented King of the Table before, but this was like your really first time.
So I've done King of the Table 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, and 11. I think I've done 6 of them, but it was the first time I'd ever worked with Neil Pickup. So when I first started in arm wrestling, I still do love WAL.
Yeah.
I'm from the Wild West. I love pro wrestling, the Hollywood. So, all of those shenanigans that was going on. So then, yeah, when I started, I believe it was in my first podcast. It was around that way, whether it was a video or that podcast. But yeah, I was like, that's my goal. The goal was working with Neil Pickup at WAL. That was the goal. And then, of course, WAL is no more at this stage. So, and then WAL partnered with King of the Table in their first 2 events, I believe. So I kind of was like, all right, well, King of the Table's the goal now. King of the Table. And yeah, so it was like, cool. when they said Neil's coming to King of the Table, I was like, brilliant, awesome. I want to work with him, because anytime, a lot of people want to meet John Brzezinski because he's the greatest arm wrestler of all time. A lot of people want to meet Levan because he's the strongest arm wrestler of all time, and so on and so on. And for me as a commentator, because that's my passion, I wanted to work with the best and
Absolutely.
and just see where I'm at. And I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. I did 2 matches with him. I did 2 matches with Coach Ray as well, the last King of the Table. But it was just that I'm a sports fan. I'm a sports fan. So I had many a moments at that King of the Table. Another one being, watching. I remember getting hip surgery and not turning on my phone for 24 hours because I didn't want to know the WAL results. So I waited 24 hours, then it was released on YouTube, and then I watched it in my hospital bed, and Michael Todd won his match. And, and I'm just in a hospital bed, starting in arm wrestling. And then 5 years later, I'm having breakfast with him. He's my friend. He's always messaging me, asking me about my family. And then, I interview him at the press conference. I'm commentating his match, and then he wins. And I'm like, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, sorry. And then, interviewing Michael afterwards. So, yeah, so things like that. I'm a bold statement kind of guy. I believe in anything that I do. So if I'm like, right, doesn't matter how long it'll take, I'll get to the big stage in arm wrestling and commentate. And I was lucky it was a bit quicker than most people.
I mean, obviously, when I read a post, and this is the part of my the English language and the Spanish language, I was literally understanding. I know, I mean, Jake was there before, but yeah, that's right, alongside with Neil Pickup. That's okay. So yeah, I got it. Because obviously, I mean, we saw you before in the King of the Table and so on. Sorry for asking this, but I remember the anecdote when Levan was trying on your skull. that
was funny. Yeah,
yeah.
that was funny. So we're at the press conference, and I had 6 athletes that were respectable. I had Sabine, Pavlo, John Brzezinski, Denis Saplenkov, Levan, and Erdemis. And I can't believe I'm even like saying those names. I, as a sports fan, I'm like, whoa, you're commentating Denis Saplenkov's comeback.
Yeah.
And look, it wasn't the most exciting press conference. So when I got to Levan, I'm like, got to jazz it up a bit. Every press conference should have a moment. Like at the last one, it was Paul Lynn and Lachlan going nose to nose. Everyone was talking about that. So then I was like, yeah, Levan. I was like, man, everyone, look, his hand it's huge. It's huge. It's like, it's bigger than my head. And I put it on there. And I'm joking around. I'm like, oh, like that. But then as I can feel, the grip's getting harder and harder. And it's a genuine, what is he doing? So then press conference finishes, and we're all having a talk, and we all go out for dinner and blah, blah, blah. And the next morning I just went up to him and I was like, mate, were you really trying to squeeze my head? And he was, yeah, seeing if I could crush it. I'm like, I've got to go home to a family, mate. What are you doing? And we had a laugh about it, but he gave it a really good squeeze. And yeah, we could have seen our first arm wrestling fatality if he had got through this skull.
I mean, I'm not laughing obviously on the fact that you got hurt. I'm just laughing on the mental process. It's like,
that was great.
We are all adults, all right? But it's like, oh yeah, I want to try to squeeze.
Yeah, it was more. Oh, it was like, oh, he's on my head, and I was like, oh, and then I was like, oh, he's having a go here. He's having a real go, and yeah, it was funny. It was a really good moment, and just things like that. I'm proud of that. I take risks and bring to arm wrestling. I understand. I understand. I'm not everyone's favorite. If I'm one person's favorite, I'm truly honored. So when it comes to things like that, and he's too loud or he's not taking it seriously or things like that, I understand people's thought process. But they're moments that I will cherish forever. They're moments that no one can take away from me. You know, there's so many that I'm so proud of and thankful that the majority of the arm wrestling world have taken me in and gone, right, we enjoy what you do.
I mean, yes. I mean, you touch a very obviously real point. I mean, no, but not everyone is gonna like us, but you're there,
Yeah.
and you have your public and so on, and you're still being invited to almost to every single event. I mean, you're moving a lot, so that's it. And talking about these events, I know that you trained. Are you competing as well, Jake?
Not anymore. I would like to. I literally went to my first training last night. I went to my first training last night in like 5 or 6 weeks. What had happened was just life. So early on, there were 3 lanes that I would focus on. It was be a good arm wrestler / YouTuber, be a good arm wrestler, and be a good family man. I love my wife. I love my children. They're my world. So it's like I can be good at those 3, or I can be amazing at 2 of them. And so I chose commentator, arm wrestling commentator, YouTube, and family man. Then we started getting like them. Once my wife beat cancer, we had children. We've got 2 beautiful girls under 2, and now I'm getting opportunities here in Australia. So I do some commentating, in another sport here in Australia. So it's like something's got to give, and competing, as much as I love it, that just had to take a back seat. It's not like I'm retired.
No, I got
if
it.
I get a good chance and life settles down a bit and I find a good groove, or if I can find a team during the day, because like it's everyone trains at nighttime because everyone's got to work. So if I can find a team during the day, then I'll really ramp it up because I do like competing. But usually I'm commentating at the event. So then when it's time for me to arm wrestle, I've been yelling for 2 hours. So I'm tired. So, and then, so I get beat real easy. So, yeah. So I'd love to compete again, but at the moment, it's not in my sights.
I mean, I totally get you, man. I totally get you because I know more or less what is to be on your shoes because I was pretty much collaborating the last 2 years of my life with a gentleman called Nino Salvatore, who lives in Spain. He's one of the main guys that organizes events in Spain and so on. And I did help him to organize events, doing just my little bit, especially, for example, this year. I organized a super match between 2 athletes, Agi Gorzinska and Sonia Miras. And that day, I competed. I got 2 medals, though. First position with right, second with left. Yeah, yay. People like, boo, boo, you're part of the organization, boo, cheater, Haha, the joke. But yeah, I did that. I compete, and I was in the afternoon, in the evening. I could even perhaps even show you later on, performing as Neil Pickup Jr. I just wear a nice dress with a tie, and then I was commentating the super matches and so on and so on. And yeah, that was absolutely tiring. And I tell you, in the last year, I didn't had not even a 10% of the workload that had Ninotor, my goodness, and Nino Salvatore, because he is the main guy, like he was doing everything. I was just helping him. But I tell you, it was a very busy year, very busy year. It was very, 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 very stressing. So I know what do you mean. It's like you either focus in 1 or 2 things, because if you open up too much, you are not going to be able to perform as good as on the rest of it. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so one day I'll get and compete, and so guys, whenever you meet me in person, do not expect mega strength when you grip up with me in the table. You will probably pin me at this stage.
That's totally fine, man. No, nobody's gonna
Yeah.
judge you for that at all. Nobody. Nobody
Nah.
at least. That is. But anyway, good. So just a classical question, brother, because I have to make it, right? Who's your favorite arm wrestler? You said it earlier on, but okay, give me 2, 3, 5 if you want to.
It's really hard because like you have someone that you love to watch. So when I was growing up, well, when I was growing up,
Yep.
really taking more notice of arm wrestling, John Brzenk, Giannis Amelins, and Jeff Hale, all on different reasons. John being the best in the world. I thought Giannis Amelins is one of the most technical arm wrestlers in the world, and Jeff Hale's personality just spoke to me. Loud, brash, character, and then just sits in a hook. So those three were my favorites, like when I was just watching. Now it's very hard. It's very hard to pick a favorite, a favorite arm wrestler these days because I spend a lot of time with these guys. A lot of these guys will message me and ask me how my family are and whatnot. So it's hard to say, oh, you're my friend, but you're not my favorite arm wrestler. But at this stage, I always find watching, even though he's on a bit of a losing streak, Dave Chafee, I find him still exciting to watch. Georgi Zarenov, I'm a huge fan of Georgi Zarenov. I think he's very exciting. And Ivan Matyashenko, I followed his career for a few years now, and he's just the most pure hook puller. And then to see it live on the weekend was just unbelievable. It was great. So those three come off the top of my head. And then, of course, I just really enjoy watching my close friends pull as well. So, yeah, it's really difficult to pick a favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. I am in the same position, and why not? I'm going to share with you the names I'm thinking about. I mean, obviously going a little bit outside of the media because obviously, yeah, John Brzenk, Devon, and so on and so on. Yeah, just to give you some names, more or less with the same reason that you said, like supporting your friends and so on. Just talking about more or less what I know, right? So the question, like, who is my favorite arm wrestler ever? Yeah, I could go to John Brzenk for obvious reasons and so on, but I will say Ivan Portela. Ivan Portela, and not just because he's Spanish, because yes, he's Spanish, but
Yeah.
Ivan Portela is 9, 10 times world champion WAF, 70 kilograms. And he's been there forever. I mean, he's been there forever. That guy is the Spanish GOAT. I mean, he's been there since the 90s. He has seen the sport growing up in Spain. Actually, this is a very nice piece of history. I'm gonna show you. Very interesting piece of history of arm wrestling, mate. Because
Yeah, nice.
he's one of the few guys in this world that actually holds an, I will not say Olympic title, but he holds, because he was back in, I think it was in 1998. I think it was the Winter Games in Russia, in Moscow. And that year, that games, he had a wrestling competition as so whatsoever. He pulled against Rustam Babayev and so on. So, for example, Rustam and him, they know each other for many, many years. And I'm just literally right now, I'm just diving into the phone. Aha, here. Not sure if you can see it.
Oh, wow. That's very cool.
Yeah, I will post a picture of it, translated.
Yeah, please do,
Frankly.
because I'm a huge Olympics fan. I love
So
the
yeah,
Olympics.
this
That's fantastic.
this is pure history. I mean, it's not many people in this world that holds one of this. I mean, Rustam Abayev had one. Ivan Portela, the Russian gentleman, I don't remember his name, who got the first position, I think. But anyway, it's like 1998, 58 kilograms. They were kids, but he's been there and traveling, and he had a similar story. Like he he had an accident. He almost lost one of his legs, and he spent like
Oh,
1 year
wow.
better and so on, thinking about retiring. But anyway, the point is, obviously, the guy is not in his prime anymore. He's not the level that he used to be, but he's very strong. And he has a club. He's coaching people, making the sport growing up. When I started to do arm wrestling and so on, humble guy, he reached out to me. We've been in touch ever since. We became pretty good friends, and he has so this guy represents arm wrestling. So it's not
Yeah.
only for what he has achieved as a career, 19 times world champion, everybody knows him. Ask Engin Teti about him. Ask Coach Ray about him. Coach is a fan of him. I mean, more or less everybody knows him. But it's one of those cases, like, because you don't have a social media perhaps, and you know the time, you don't exist. But no, I mean, but this is one of
Yeah.
those guys that's been there forever, and he's doing a lot
Ah,
for this sport. So guys like this, I mean, I could tell you more names like Nino, Lorenzo, many people.
yeah.
So he's my favorite number one. Then
Oh, cool.
for sure. Then moving to recent days and the guys that we see in the East versus West and so on. If there was a Spanish, I would say the Spanish guy, but as there's no Spanish guy, I'm going to say someone who I really like as an arm wrestler. I couldn't find many footage about him, but I really like him as an arm wrestler because he's a top roller and a very nice guy. Super Frank. Frank Lamparelli.
Ah,
Frank Lamparelli. Frank Lamparelli is there. I mean,
yeah.
Italians and Spanish, we are fratelli. I mean, we're brothers. I mean, the culture, the language is similar. It's not the same, obviously, but it's there. And if I have to tell you a third person, right, I am in between, for example, Fia Racek. I like her a lot. She's very good. Or I could say, choosing ladies, I would say, oh, Fia Racek. And uh, this, oh my goodness, I completely forgot about him. Oh, what is his name? Oh, this is more Tom Holland. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, yep.
Tom Holland.
Both awesome people. Both.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've spent some time with both of them, and they're both fantastic people in general.
I've been watching Tom since I started here in the UK, obviously, and it's not just because he's rising up now and so on, but when you started there, he was already the legend and so on. And sometimes I'm the kind of spectator, especially on the social media, that sometimes watches and doesn't react, which is not good because me as a small content creator, I know that when someone gives you a like, leaves you a comment and so on, we really appreciate it. So
Yes.
sometimes I've been spying in the shadows to all these guys, especially Tom and so on. And I really like the guy as an arm wrestler. And we're gonna see him in the East vs West 14.
Yeah.
And
With
it's
Coach
like,
Louis.
well,
Yeah.
wait and
That's
see.
cool.
Wait
Yeah,
and see.
Tom Holland, little story. He was my second ever guest on the podcast.
Oh,
Like he jumped on when I had like 50 subscribers. So got a lot of time for Tom. He's been on the show a few times, but yeah, I've enjoyed Tom's career like you have, but yeah, I've got a soft spot for Tom and was hanging out with him about 3 weeks ago at Knuckles Up. So
yeah. Right.
really good guy, and I reckon he'd be more than happy to come on the show.
I don't know. I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. I will try to invite him. I know these guys, yeah, just to giving you some names rather than just talking about the typical guys. I mean, who are my favorite guys? Right now, I'm gonna say, yeah, those ones I gave you, honestly. Not just because these are new athletes that are raising up. I want to no. It's what it is. Period. It's absolutely what it is. No excuses. But let's see if I'm waiting for our friend to see if he can join us for a little call. I mean, he's crossing fingers that he will be able to. But anyway, man, about the matches, King of the Table 11, I have to ask you because you bet there, and obviously there was a little bit of innuendo is not the term, discuss about the reffing and situations like that. I mean, you've been there, The camera, I know that it doesn't make any justice at all to what is actually happening on the table, especially from the reffing side, because I remember, for example, when I was last time in the East vs West, when I became a meme.
Yeah.
Watching some of the footages, people complaining about the reffing and so on, and it's like, guys, no, I was there. Everything was square. It was just more for the angle of the camera that gives you that perception. But for these purposes, like, how did you saw the atmosphere? I mean, the reffing, the general atmosphere. How did you experience it?
So a king of the table, it's a little bit different because the excuse me, the Dubai crowd are more your respectful crowd. So when I turn up an event, I want everyone screaming and yelling and up on their feet. That's what I love to work with. In Dubai, they're kind of not sure what they can and can't do, but they're also a very respectful culture in that sense. So on camera, it looks like they're not enjoying themselves, but they are absolutely loving it. But they're just kind of watching and observing, and like it's more internal, like, oh wow, this is fantastic. So yeah, visually it doesn't look the best, but they are having the time of life because you see them afterwards and they're glowing and they're so happy and they're meeting all these superstars of the sport. So yeah, so I mean, I'd love them jumping up and down. The reffing, I think with the reffing, because like Haristo and Alex, they work at East versus West as well. So it's not like the king of the table refs suck. But also, I don't think what had helped was the adjustments. So I was like king of the table rules. And then in the main event, it was East versus West rules because it was for the East versus West title because now they're partners. They, you know. So sometimes that can, even as a commentator, you're a bit like you can tend to forget.
Yeah.
That the rules that has changed. And it's real hard. Like I know a lot of people, I think at every event, like if you go back and watch the last King of the Table, the last East versus West, the last Knuckles Up, Arm Wars, WAL, someone's going to complain about the ref, especially if their favorite puller has lost.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of us wanted the visual of, you know, Ivan beating Morozov. Now, if Ivan had pulled different or things had gone his way, he could have won. But you just kind of, Ivan didn't complain about the rules after the match. He was fine. So for me, you just gotta roll with it, unless it is real blatant and corrupt and things like that, which Huristo and Alex aren't. They're two great people. Yeah, you just go with it. I will very rarely complain about the refereeing because I won't ref. I won't ref. I'll help out in my club, but like I won't ref. So who am I to complain about the referees? Now, if there's something that's just shocking and like that, I'll have a laugh about it. But yeah, I thought the reffing was great, and
I mean, I'm absolutely agree with you. I mean, reffing, especially where I'm coming from, Spain, is the job that nobody wants to do. And I'm not saying this because I want to be friends of everyone. No. I mean, we have to respect the craft. And obviously, being a referee, a referee is not an easy job. And by my own experience, just what they say, like what you see on the camera is not the same as when you are there in the event, because I saw the things there, like everything was perfect in the East vs West, for example. What we saw, it was nothing outstanding, like perfect series and so on. But then watching some of the videos on YouTube, just watching the comments of the people, it's like, no, man. I mean, it's like, and also this is not football, it's like you should be more respectful for the people because
anyway, it's different. The only one thing I would change is just say go. Just say go.
Just say go. No ready,
Hold
go.
them together, go. Like, don't ask if they're ready. Just, If I were to change one thing, that would be a thing. Just, they close their thumbs, they close their hands, and just go. That'd be my only little thing.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense. I mean, for example, that would be part of a healthy discuss, like a healthy debate. It's like, because I mean, some people doesn't like it. I mean, they always prefer the ready go, then they don't move go, things like that. Yeah, it's totally fine. That's part of the, let's say, of a healthy discuss and a nice
Yeah.
debate. Perfectly, perfectly. But anyway, from the matches, which is the one you said it was the most, you didn't expect the results, the most,
Oh, all of them?
all of them?
Well, yeah, really, because like I thought Ryan Bowen was going to win.
Yeah.
I thought Lachlan Adair was going to win, and they were both powered through. Like,
Hmm.
it wasn't like they lost and it was a struggle. It was like, and as and as an Australian, that hurts.
Hmm.
But it was like I didn't expect them. When I arrived at King of the Table and I saw Petrenko next to Kitagali, my mind changed because I thought Kitagali was going to win. I thought, oh, he's going to outmaneuver him. He's
No,
going to be
no,
good.
no.
Then when I saw Petrenko turn up at King of the Table, I was like, oh, okay. I think Oleg's going to
Right.
wax him, but it was still surprising. We never see Ongabayev get
Yes.
manhandled like
Yes.
that. Um, like I said before, I'm a huge Zarenov fan, but the way he destroyed Rivas at 170 kilos, I thought that was another surprise. Yeah, yeah, it was those ones that were just I was just like, wow, like,
Mhm.
and even how quick Michael Todd was round one. I was in the booth with Neil Pickup, and we both just went,
Yeah.
whoa. So
No, I mean, Michael was impressive. Michael was impressive. And for example, I was ex I was giving 65% to Paul in compared
yep,
to Lachlan. I didn't expect him to win in that way because I mean, like
yeah,
all is fast and so on. I was expecting
dominant.
like maybe 1, 2 rounds for Lachlan. Like when it was, yeah, he left me like Joe open, and obviously I was very happy for him. But then obviously, we'll say Camille Laletin, for example. Camille versus Laletin, it was a good match. For example, I was having a discuss with one of the boys, Henry. Henry is the reaction guy. He's
Yeah.
well, yeah, the guy. He's doing his prediction game with the 13 keys of Armwrestling and so on, and we were
Yes.
discussing, and he was telling me Laletin is going to win. I tell you, Laletin is going to win because of this. Like, okay, fair enough, man. I mean, fine. I will support Camille. I think Camille will have a chance, like tight, but will have a chance. And it was a good match, man. I mean, it's
It was a great
like,
match.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. Then, yeah, I mean, yeah, Oleg Petrenko, Gorbayev, yeah, yeah, man. I mean, yeah, I absolutely agree. And I tell you something, because you said like you saw him physically and he gave you feeling, he gave you a sensation, right? We cannot. Well, we all do have our bias. That's absolutely right. And we know that we cannot trust the prediction of a match based on the feelings that you have on the physical appearance of someone. But talking in future, I saw Rustam a few weeks ago, and I tell you
Yeah.
something.
He's looking good.
Oof,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
impressed. I mean, listen, I am in the habit of seeing Rustam often. Well, often,
Yeah.
I saw him there in Manchester because I went on Saturday to train with Dan Hanlon. Saturday we were training. That we were watching the Tyson Fury fight. I was the only one who was supporting that night Usyk, not Tyson Fury, so we all have a fight. And then the next day we went to Manchester for the Armwrestling and so on. Tom Holland was pulling there with James Beach. Ali
Love
Gonzalez
James
was there,
Beach.
like all the guys there, and Rustam Babayev walking in the house supporting one of his guys for a super match. And I was like, Rustam? Like,
You're looking
I,
good.
oof, I tell you, man, it's like that skin wasn't able to hold any single grain of more muscle tissue. I mean,
Wow.
I tell you, man, I know it's, I'm not trying to warm up or something like, because it's way too early to try to warm up the match before between the Paul Ling and Rustam, because I had said like, hey Rustam, how you doing, man? You're looking good. Like, oh yeah, here, blah 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 with
But
Sergey.
knowing Paul, he'll love to hear. Paul Lynn would love to hear that because Paul wants your best version.
Oh
He
yes.
wants that. He does. He would be devastated if you said, "Oh, I saw Russell the other day and he was looking a bit nah."
No,
Where Paul
no,
would be
no.
like, "Good,
I
good. I want his best."
I had listen, I saw Rustam Ryan, we had a chat there. He's like, hey, how you doing, man? Nice to see you again, blah blah. When you're coming for training, blah 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 blah. It's like, oh yeah, I've been there, in Turkey wrestling. Oh yeah, I saw you there, and I met Paul Ling. It's like, how's he doing? Is he strong? Like, well, strong. And then I look him in the eye. He looking back at me, and I was like, you had that match with him. It's like, are you? I catch it. I mean, he didn't tell me anything, but I just think like, are you going to have a, are you going to have a rematch with him or something? Like, or are you preparing for the cup? Because I mean, you are looking very, like huge, man. Looking at him, looking back, and then that moment, saved by the bell. Someone, hey, Rustam, come with me on the table. Boom, boom. And it was like wine tasting. I was smelling the blood. I was smelling the blood in the atmosphere, man. And it's like, ooh. And then I had the podcast with Paul Ling, and I throw it's like, oh, I don't know what did I hear that, but are you gonna have a match with Rustam? I said, well, that call is not being made yet, and so on. Okay, fair enough. And then news, and it's
Yeah.
like, ooh, I tell you
Great.
that. Paul Ling, if you're watching this, man, I tell you, it's being still a long way to the East West 14, but I tell you,
Yeah.
what I
Watch out.
saw, what I saw from Rustam, man, he's coming heavy. I tell you, man, he is coming heavy. So I want to see that. I want to see that.
Can't wait.
Mm.
It'll be good. Yeah. I mean, so many good matches at the moment that are being booked and can be booked. Yeah, we're in a pretty good spot. Pretty good spot in arm wrestling.
Mm.
So pretty happy.
No, I mean the card is amazing for the next couple of matches, and it was 13 already. Chen Shaw is gonna compete as well, and the rest of the guys. I mean, David Adikian, Oleg Petrenko, Dimitrina Petrova, Yenta Kenaka, because I'm just watching here, right here, the Instagram of the East versus West.
Yeah.
The card is gonna look amazing, man.
Killers out there. There's some killers. It's
Mm.
gonna, yeah, it's another. Yeah, I haven't seen a bad card in years. Like every time one of these promotions announce a card, I'm like, oh wow. Right, awesome. Looking forward to that one. Oh wow, how good's that one? Even yeah, look at that one, brilliant. So yeah, so many good ones.
Right, my friend. I'm just going to make you just one little question more, and perhaps we can call it a day, because I don't want to
Yep.
really take much of your time, my friend. But
No, mate, I've
from all
enjoyed
the
myself.
oh, thank you, man. From let's just say this is very easy, okay? But let's just say either sports wise, well, obviously you are training, doing your thing, but you're not planning to compete. But as I saw on the podcast that you don't like gunners, or just say you like to do things, like if you want to do something, just do it. And I see that you're a guy with goals, commitments, and so on. So I'm very curious, like, what will be your next big? I'm not. My English has just gone. What will be your next big? Can I tell you in Spanish, maybe? What would be your next big goal to achieve? What would you like to do
So in arm wrestling, my next
in anything? Ready,
so in
man.
anything, so yeah, so that's I'm going to be on national TV here in Australia. So
Oh.
here in Australia, we have a sport called Aussie Rules Football. It's the
Hmm?
biggest sport in Australia. We get 50, 60,000 people turn up to games every week. We get a day off for the grand final. It's like the Super Bowl or Champions League final. And we get 100,000 people at the game. And so I've started commentating that in a lower division.
Yep.
And yeah, and I'll be on TV. I will be on TV or one of the main radio stations commentating the Aussie rules football, the main league.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know when, but I will. But I will be.
Man, that's impressive. And I really wish that everything goes good as you plan, man. You deserve it.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Listen, um, thank you very much for being here with me today. It's been a fair amount of time.
No, thank you for inviting me. It's cool. Well, I love it. For you to think that I'd be fun to be on your show. So thank you.
I mean, absolutely. And it's just that forget about the fact that you're famous, you're recognized, and so on. And so I don't really care about it. I mean, obviously, yes, as we are all in YouTube, social media, and so on, we want to. For example, I do a couple of podcasts and so on. It gets almost like few visits. For example, I do something from an interview that I did to Mindaugas Dulskas, right? I select a piece because I did ask him like how it was the experience of pulling with Devon. What did you learn? And he told me blah 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 about the setups and everything. So I say, okay, I'm going to select this part and upload it to YouTube just to separate like this is what happens with you Paul with Devon. It's similar as it happened with with Camille. I mean, you do anything about what is really the mass media with, for example, in this case, Devon Larratt, which is obviously the most famous man,
Yeah.
views like this. So what I'm saying is, it's not really, I don't really care if you are famous, if you are whatsoever. It's like I really care more about the person. I really care about
Yeah.
what's your story. And obviously, as I told you earlier on, you have the hell of a story. And
Thank you.
and again, guys, I will leave here in the comment section and so on in the description the link so you can watch the full podcast of Jake in the Andy, right? What's his name?
Andy, yeah.
Andy, yeah.
Yeah.
The podcast of Andy. So guys, it's gonna be there. And yeah, we're gonna have more chances, man, especially if I'm continue going on with this little project. Obviously, yeah, we'll be more than happy to invite you and to do anything with you. And
Yeah,
yes,
man. Or anytime you want me to come on, just shoot me a message.
absolutely, man. Thank you. And I'm gonna do for you a little tradition I started with Mindaugas Dulskas. Like for every guest, I like to do a lift. So
Okay. Here we
let's,
go.
yeah, man, do something original, you know.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. It's not much though because I've been already working out. It's not a maximum repetition, but it's it's just for the gesture though. But anyway, Opana!
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
that's it. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming, buddy. Just to let you know, again, my friend, anytime you come into the UK, you let me know. Especially if you're going to visit Spain, you let me know. I will find something for you, especially Serrano ham,
Absolutely.
wine, and so on. And we keep in touch, buddy.
Beauty. Absolutely.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Take care, buddy.